Well, hello to everybody in the chat. And hey, thank you for stopping by the Scariff Scuttlebutt podcast, live edition, Scariff Live here on Saturdays. We do a show every Saturday. As long as I've got a topic and a guest to talk about and kind of hang out with. Obviously, the chat is present as always. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Get ready to get nostalgic, everybody. I've got Heidi backstage waiting to come out. We're going to be talking about 70s TV sci-fi costumes. We've got a couple of favorites, and I want to make sure that this show is interactive. So please, in the chat, I think Heidi and I picked out three shows that we enjoyed back in the day, and we kind of singled out some of our favorite costumes from that era, and we will be talking about it. And obviously, we want your input, everybody in the chat. What else? A couple of announcements later on. I stumbled upon an Etsy shop that is has some really cute stuff, and I'm going to show you guys this stuff here from your weird aunt. Head on over to the Etsy shop and kind of browse through some of the items there because they are fantastic. When Heidi comes on, I'm going to show you some of these earrings that I got for a giveaway here at the Scare Scuttlebutt podcast. They are super cute. I was telling Heidi, I purchased a set of Scariff Shore Trooper earrings, the Lego figures, which I might actually keep. I don't wear earrings, but I might actually keep them because they are super cool. So that's going to be a giveaway later on in the evening for some lucky. I think I got three items, so we'll hopefully we'll give out three of the items from the Etsy shop. They are super cute. So that'll be a lot of fun. 70s costumes from 70s sci-fi television, right? We love that stuff. We love talking about costumes. We love when we have Heidi over. She's too cool for school, and we've got some other collaborations coming up. We'll tell you all about that later. But let me push a couple buttons and say hello to the chat. But we'll bring Heidi out in about 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
And welcome to the Citadel here at the Scare Scuttlebutt podcast. Heidi, how's it going?
Oh, great. I'm so happy to be here.
I am happy that you are here. I'm happy that you're happy because it's always fun hanging out with you, talking costumes. You are my number one costume guest. So thanks for coming.
That's awesome. Well, anytime I get to talk costumes, it's funny because I was having a bit of yesterday, I had a bit of a crappy day at work. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at some costumes and it always cheers me up.
Absolutely. I was doing some research last night, putting together, the graphics and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
It's wonderful to lose yourself or to be able to lose yourself in all this crazy nerdy stuff that we love. And then costumes, obviously. Do you feel that costumes are overlooked in the fandom? We always talk about characters and Darth Vader and Blade Runner and all that stuff, but do you think that costumes are kind of an afterthought for fans?
Well, I probably used to think that, but now not so much because with Instagram, I'm noticing that a lot of the designers are posting their pictures on there
Mhm.
and they get a huge amount of following. And like today, I mentioned to you earlier that I know a little bit about the Blade Runner designer. And I saw this incredible interview that he did with some fans of the show. So obviously people want to dig into not just the story and the cast and the special effects and all that. But I think it is integral. It's really important to, the look and feel of the show. And sometimes there's going to be a show that you watch and you won't even notice the costumes, but that's sometimes a good thing as well. If you don't
Sure.
really notice the costumes or the wardrobe, but on something fantastical like Star Wars, obviously, how can you not notice the costumes?
Exactly. And speaking of Star Wars, there was an announcement today that the Acolyte is going to be shown. It's going to be released this summer. I think the Acolyte is one of those shows that we were expecting to be released this year, along with Skeleton Crew, which stars
Yes.
Jude Law. And
Oh, that's cool. Like, because
yeah.
we did a show, and I'm not sure if we did it on here, talking about our most anticipated shows of 2024. So those were two that you had.
Yes, absolutely. And I think more so than everybody wants a Ahsoka season 2, and obviously that's coming. But I think the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew for me are they're kind of like mysterious. We don't know a lot. There hasn't been a lot of material that's been leaked. So I kind of like that. I kind of like when I go into a Star Wars not knowing a lot. I think Acolyte is one of those things. I mean, there was a kind of a cell phone leaked trailer from last year's Star Wars Celebration, which was kind of a little grainy. It wasn't very clear. It wasn't officially released, but from what I saw, it looked pretty good. And I like my Star Wars kind of serious and moody and dark. And I know a lot of people don't like it that too much, but I like when
I'm with you, brother. I'm totally the same. Which
yeah.
is why of the more recent shows, my favorite is Andor.
Yes.
I absolutely love Andor. By the way, I think I shared it with you. There's an amazing video that this scientist did about the prison in Andor.
Oh.
I believe
Oh yeah. You
it
tagged
is
me.
so fascinating. I recommend
Yeah.
everyone watching it. Yeah, she's actually a scientist out of Vancouver,
Mhm.
and she talks about why how they use the style of prison that they're using,
Mhm.
and why it's so effective and terrifying.
Right. Yeah, I watched that, and I think I followed the scientist, the person on screen.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. Very fascinating stuff. I think and it goes to show you how much thought is put into some of that stuff, even if it is to entertain and dazzle us with special effects. I think it goes a long way when the creators kind of think about real world stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell Nicole. I'm going to let me look for it. Okay, I
Yeah.
will look for it when we have a moment here, and I will
And
post it.
yes, and then I'll
It's
put it
on
up
my
on
watch. It's on
screen.
my watch thing, so I could just have to because
Absolutely.
I didn't actually share it out on. Oh, I might have shared it on social
I
media.
think you did, because
Okay,
that's how I saw it.
okay.
I want to
Maybe
say
I
hello
tagged you.
to let's say hello to some of the people in the chat. Backyard TARDIS just coming on in. Nicole, Ubaldo, Isaac, Mara Jade, Stark Walker.
Yeah, Mara J is one of my
Um,
friends.
excellent.
Yeah,
Patrick, Griffin, Isaac, Skywalker's Academy. A couple of wonderful people. Rural Farm Boys in there. What's up? And let's see, I'm going to go scroll all the way up. Andrew from the Science Fictionary podcast. Waiting for him to drop new episodes because
hmm
I need me some Science Fictionary. But yeah, absolutely. I wanted to, yeah, go ahead and drop it in the chat when you get a chance. And
yeah.
then
I'm just scrolling through. I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm sure you guys do, but I mean, it's probably really bad how much I watch.
oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. Are there any shows that you are anticipating coming out because of the costumes or something cool?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So my big one, and I mentioned this on that live stream we did, is Shogun, which is
Mhm.
coming out on February 27th. And I'm super excited. It takes place in 1600 Japan, like feudal Japan.
Oh,
So
speaking
it's
of
got the
Japan.
samurai, we have and Hiro Sonata is in it. He was
Mhm.
in John Wick, which we were supposed to do a video about.
Yeah.
He's in the John
Something.
Wick 4.
Yeah.
But also he was in Westworld. So I love him. And as well, there is another one called The New Look. It's coming out February 14th on Valentine's Day. It's about Christian Dior, about his life.
Oh,
So
cool.
Christian Dior is one of the most famous fashion designers of our generation. Actually, I guess he'd be an earlier generation, but he invented the New Look, which is why the show's called The New Look. And I had the privilege of seeing his New Look exhibit when it came to Toronto, but it kind of toured all over. So 2
Oh,
shows,
very nice.
but there's so many, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think Andor's coming back this year. I believe they
It's
might
next
not.
year.
Yeah, so it will be the
Yeah. They,
following
I
year.
think today or yesterday is they announced that they just finished principal photography. So
Oh,
it's going to take a while, but yeah. Um oh,
yeah,
what
and
was I going to
the New
say?
Look is on Apple Plus, if you guys are wondering.
Okay.
And then
Cool.
Shogun is on Hulu. And it's based on the James Clavell book from, when we were kids. They made a 1980s version with Toshiro Mifune and Richard Chamberlain.
Yes, I remember that.
It was
Yeah, I
really big. Like
remember.
my
Yeah.
whole family watched it.
Yeah, it was a big deal. Richard
It was a
Chamberlain
big
was a
deal
big
back
star
then.
back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toshiro.
Um,
Sorry, I can't
I
say his name.
I
Toshiro.
w- I wanted to ask you because you mentioned, we have a good thing going with Prop Store, and we've got some shows coming up. We did
We
have
do.
a show coming up, but they didn't want to do that particular one. But I'm very excited about the next one that we're going to be doing. But when it gets closer to reality, and when we start planning that, we'll obviously tell everybody about that. But yeah, the Prop Store has been really great to us. I'm glad that they enjoy when we feature their auctions, because those items are a lot of fun. The costumes, the props. We've done how many shows have we done with them
I think it was
already?
like 4, maybe 4 or 5.
3 or 4. Wow.
Yeah. And then in one of the ones, the memorabilia one, I went in and they have Sandy from Greece. So I was so excited
Mm.
about that. Like one of her 1950s outfits from Greece. There was a ton of stuff in there. And I think are we allowed to mention what they're called, or maybe we're not?
I think not.
Embargoed? Okay,
Yeah,
I won't say anything.
there's still an
So
embargo.
I did see Sandy in there though.
Yeah. Better safe than
There
sorry.
was a lot of good stuff. So it's going to be really, really hard to narrow it down.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the email. I'm like, oh my God, yes, we are totally in. So we'll make that announcement when we can. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I wanted to do, before we get into our costume selections, I wanted to do a little show and tell. And I mentioned at the top of the show
Yes.
that obviously some of the things that I found on the Etsy shop, I'm going to show you guys. These are some cool Ahsoka earrings, and
They're so beautiful. They're real. They look like little
yeah,
Lego figurines in a way.
I think they are.
Oh, okay.
And I've never
Oh, what a great
seen
idea.
Grogu as a
So
Lego
cute.
little, but these are
Yeah,
adorable.
they're so cute.
And then like
I
said,
have like a Grogu knockoff, by the way.
oh
I
really?
got him before they officially launched one, but I found this one and he looks a bit like a Shar-Pei.
Oh, that's hilarious.
His face is all squished, but I love him. He's so cute. Those are beautiful.
Too funny.
So how many pairs did you get?
I got 3. So if you go to Etsy, just look for Your Weird Ant Shop. I got 3, and then a whole bunch of stickers and buttons that she threw in. And
That's really kind of you to shout her out too, like to support a small
oh,
business.
I love Star Wars art.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I love looking at stuff.
Mhm.
I like kind of spreading the love, spreading the love.
By the way, can I mention something? Like the other day, you were posting on about Starlog. Do you know that a lot of the issues are digitized now? Like I found one online the other day when I was
Oh my
doing some
God.
research. Yeah, so when I was doing research on Buck Rogers, I was like, oh, it's under the Wayback Machine. So I
Okay.
found some of them are digitized, but we were chatting about Bantha tracks,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even know how I went about it, but like, I don't know if you guys know about it, but it was like a newsletter that we used to get when we were kids,
Yeah.
and they would send it how often. And sadly, like I think I was in a Star Wars fan club, so I had all these
I
things
think
that they
that's how
would
you
send
got
me.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. But sadly, I had everything in a container and it got damaged in a flood or something, so I don't have them, and I'm so sad about it. I would love to get access to the back issues, the Bantha tracks. That would be really cool.
I've got boxes and boxes of not only comic books, but like fan magazines. And I think I do still have all my Star logs. I'm going to have to go look through them.
Yeah.
I think I proposed to one of our friends of the podcast, Scott Rifen, because he's got a couple of them too. And when we get together, we can talk about Star Wars till we're blue in the face. But I had proposed to him to kind of grab a couple of Starlog magazines, and we can do a show where we just kind of flip through them and then read the headlines and stuff like that. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because Starlog also did horror. That's one of the things too. That was sort of my early introduction into horror was through Starlog. And they were doing in the 70s and 80s, they were doing like a lot of psychological horror as well.
Yeah.
So but like Coma was one that really are scanners, like some of these really trippy sort of or Carrie obviously was huge.
Sure.
That was like one of my first introductions to horror. It was like absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. It was Starlog, and then Fangoria. There was Monster Magazine. All good stuff. All right, let's talk about science fiction costumes of the 70s.
And I was mentioning to you that I had my hair blow dried out, kind of 70s a little bit. I tried to do a flip, but it's not quite a flip. But anyway, because I usually have my hair sort of. I have like worked very hard to.
You're fitting, you're.
And did you want me to show my show and tell as well?
Yes, your show and tell. What was that?
Yeah, and I have it clipped on. So Ro sent this to me, and this was like it was so funny because I watched a Adam Savage. He interviewed the one of the original guys from props guys from Blade Runner, and showed him how to make the original IDs and everything. Like they had the machine and everything. So anyway, so it was such a surprise when I got this in the mail from Ro. It's replicant identification, and I have Zora. So I'm Salome. So I'm so lucky. She's obviously, her picture is of her in her costume that she wears at the club where she dances with the snake. So that's very cool. And Ro, you said that this doesn't expire too, so it's an all access pass. I can use
it's an all access, yeah.
I can use it indefinitely. It has a barcode, so if I need to get it, if I need to go in somewhere and they scan it, I should try using it. See what happens.
Let's see what happens. Yeah,
they'll be like, "Sorry, ma'am, you can't pay with your Blade Runner card." I'm just wearing it on here on my blouse.
Excellent.
Keep near me. And that was such a lovely gift. And also you sent me all these. He sent me like some Post-it notes, and he sent me some buttons. And it was just stickers.
Fun stuff.
It was really, really fun. It was a lovely surprise.
I'll tell you guys how to be able to qualify to win a couple of these towards the end. I got an idea. I'll let you guys know. But all right, let's talk about costumes of the 70s as far as science fiction television. And, for those of us who have a little gray in our beard, especially those of you guys in the chat, I want you guys to weigh in as we talk about our shows here and see what shows do you guys remember and what costumes do you guys remember. Let's go with one of your selections. Any preference? I got all the graphics.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I can work with what you're doing.
All right. So let's go with the Bionic Woman.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's funny. The Saturn Awards were, I think it was last week. We were watching them in one of our Discord channels. I'm rarely in Discord, but we were watching them. I think it was the guys over at Science Fictionary. Andrew was hosting a watch party, and Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner came out to present. And I swear, I mean, they both look fantastic. I wanted to see more of them than just presenting. Lindsay Wagner still looks great.
Absolutely.
And they presented the award and they walked off stage, and I'm like, oh no, I want to see more of them.
Yeah.
So tell me about the why you selected this costume.
Sure. Oh, before I do, I put a link to that the Andor prison video. It's actually called "The Most Disturbing Prison in the Universe." That's what it's called. Is the name of the video. Everyone,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to check it out, anyway, okay. Well, why I chose this? Okay, imagine I'm a little girl in the 1970s and I'm watching like Charlie's Angels and I'm watching Wonder Woman and I'm watching the Bionic Woman. And of course, what was the most impressionable thing to me is that, here was a strong female character. She was smart, she was intelligent. Um, she could kick ass. So that was really something attractive to me. And the reason why I always loved the Bionic Woman, it only ran like 3 seasons from like 1976 to 1978. So it was actually quite short lived. And she was a spinoff of the Bionic Man, which you were mentioning, Lee Majors, who was married to Farrah Fawcett. But why I chose this one is this outfit is the thing that she wears during the intro, like the titles of the series. And I just think it's so like simple and kind of, but at the same time, very recognizable. Like she was like a tennis player, I believe, before the accident. And so she, it looks like something I probably would have worn, which is another thing I like about it. Like, she's
Mhm.
wearing sort of slightly flared denim pants with this like fleece sort of zip top. And then she's wearing little white running shoes. And then as of course you're showing, they did an action figure in this outfit. They actually did a bunch of different action figures of her in different outfits. And
Mhm.
I think they even did a Barbie as well. I never had the Barbie, but my friend had the Bionic Man and you could look through his eye.
I remember, like, look through the back of his head, and then you
Look through the
can
back
there's
of
like
his
a
head.
yeah, there was like a
So
little scope in his head.
there was a Barbie of her, but it was, and you could buy different clothes and stuff and accessories. So obviously they were going after the young market. And from my memory, the show was pretty, it was pretty general. Like it wasn't very adult, like in my memory at any rate, until maybe you got to the fembots and then it started maybe getting a bit scary. But other than that, so I always thought, Lindsay Wagner, she was girl next door, beautiful. She was smart and funny and strong. And so it just, really great character. And I just thought this was a really fitting costume. Yeah, Bionic Vision, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't have too much to say. The costume designer's name was Charles Waldo. But you know what, honestly, there's not a lot of information. This is the problem. Some of these older shows, there's not a lot of information about some of these older shows, and I'm kind of sad about it.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, I was watching an interview with one of the other costume designers, and I kind of feel like it's so important to chronicle like what these designers did,
Mhm.
and if possible, archive like at least photos of their work and everything. But sadly, a lot of these shows, they happen so fast, and gosh knows where the costumes went. They could have ended
Right.
up like just, donated, or maybe the cast took them home, or who knows. But yeah. So I don't know what your memories of the Bionic Woman were.
Well, and it's funny because I know some costumes sometimes ended up in thrift stores,
Yeah.
donated.
Mhm.
It's a shame, and it's funny, even putting together this graphic, there was not a lot of actual pictures that I can use from the
Indeed.
show.
Yeah. Like, and
So
those two that you have of her, they're from the opening of the show.
yeah,
Um,
screenshots.
Yeah, screenshots, I think, from from the opening of the show. So yeah, it's just too bad. But some of the things, like for instance, I think if they thought it was an important movie, like Gone with the Wind or something, for instance, they did know to take photos and still images and try and take museum pictures, and then they would go into preservation or something. But for some of these television series, it's the same thing when I was doing Logan's Run. It was a movie and then it was a TV series, like a lot of
Right.
these were. I think
Mhm.
this was the thing in the 70s, by the way, I noticed. And so there's not a lot of information about it, like except for if it's something occasionally comes up for auction, or if
Mhm.
they talk about it on the DVD.
Right.
That's kind of the only way I can really find any information about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, Backyard TARDIS says, I'm really surprised that Bionic Woman hasn't come back. It's funny because there's a lot of
Yeah.
shows from the 70s that are, starting to come back. Obviously, you got well, it's not from the 70s, but the 80s, Quantum Leap. There's a new Quantum Leap, which, what do you feel about these shows that have been rebooted or redone? Are there
Well,
any that you really enjoy or like? I mean, it might be a blessing in disguise that some of these great
yeah.
shows are
Well,
not
I'm
around.
watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I thought it was really
Oh,
good.
okay. All right.
So that was one that I watched recently. I'm trying to think of a show that has been brought back. Some of them, I think it's like, oh wow, they're doing that already. It was only out like 20 years ago, but it's kind of
Yeah.
like, I guess, a cycle. Like, everyone's grown up now and we need to do it again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to think of one. What's one you're thinking of or that you like?
No, the only one, yeah, I don't know. It's I'm sure, I'm sure at the end of the show I'll think of all of them, but
Like,
yeah.
I wasn't crazy about them redoing Blade Runner, to be fair. Because I thought that movie was perfect.
Yeah, and I think I still do. I think I still like the original.
Mhm.
I wasn't too crazy with the new Blade Runner. But that's
No.
another podcast.
And I love the director. He's a fantastic
Yeah.
director. He's doing the Dune, right? But and he's Canadian. He's from Quebec. A great director. And I've seen a few of his movies, which are so good. But I
Mhm.
just that one, yeah, I don't know. And my husband and I were both like, did not like Jared Leto in that. We just thought he
Mhm.
was so awful
Yeah.
in that role. So I think Ryan Reynolds was good though, or Ryan Gosling. Sorry, I think he was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nick. Let's see here. Hawaii 5-0,
Hmm.
Magnum PI. There you go. He's the guy that knows it all. MacGyver. Yeah, I mean, not very memorable these
I
new
don't remember any of
shows.
those reboots. I
Yeah,
don't
I
remember
remember
that.
Magnum PI. I mean, I work at NBC, so the NBC building, you see the Magnum PI poster all over the place.
Hmm.
Quantum Leap. Um, yeah, but again, not very memorable. I think Quantum Leap is about to get canceled. But yeah, sometimes, like you said, I think sometimes they should just
Hmm.
leave perfection,
Well, I mean, an
leave it
example
alone.
that I think where they're doing a really good job with it is Star Trek. I think
Oh,
they've been
yeah.
doing an amazing job with that. My husband's just like, he's pretty much watched all the reboots,
Hmm.
including the cartoon one, the animated one. He loves that one. And
Oh,
then they
yeah.
did a fun little crossover, like they took the animated one and then they
I
took the
saw that. Yeah.
characters and they put it in, which was I
Strange
was
New
like,
World. Yeah.
Strange New Worlds. Yeah, it was really well done. And Picard is really good.
Oh, yeah.
Super
Absolutely.
highbrow.
Hmm. Excellent. All right. So I was talking to you about an early rediscovered crush that I had, and I'm sure I'm not the
Yes.
only one, but if you guys remember the show Isis with Joanna Cameron. And I didn't realize she passed away of a stroke recently in
Oh
2021.
no.
Yeah, she was living in Hawaii, kind of not secretive, but she wanted to stay away from the limelight of
Mhm.
Hollywood
Yeah.
and live a modest life in Hawaii. But yeah, oh my God, I remember having a huge crush on Isis, watching the show on TV, and I'm not sure. I'm gonna go out on a limb later on when I introduce another one of my shows, but I think I'm starting to recognize a pattern, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But
Sure.
one
Yeah,
thing that I
it's funny because I forgot about how they always put glasses on them when they want them to be, okay, let's put a pair of glasses on them and put her hair in a ponytail to
yeah,
disguise them.
sure,
By the way, I think she kind of looks like Natalie Wood a bit.
yes, absolutely,
If you guys all remember Natalie Wood.
yeah, she
No, she's a
does,
classic
especially.
beauty for sure.
Hmm.
Now, you wouldn't be able to do a remount of this show because of the name.
Oh yeah, I guess. Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, because I think you're going to be alluding to the Egyptian. Is that what you're going to allude to? We can talk
Yes,
about
yeah,
later. Yeah,
yeah, we'll definitely get there.
I was having a chat with Jack about that earlier, so yeah, we can get into that. Yeah, I have to say I love her glasses. I think those are really cool. They're really big. Like, what was her day job?
She was, oh, and I just read it. What was she?
She looks like she
I
might
thought
have
she
been
was
a
a
research
researcher.
scientist. A research
Right.
scientist, yes,
Yeah.
because that's why she's wearing the big glasses.
Yes. The classic glasses trick. Too funny.
Exactly. Oh,
But, this is one of those shows that I forgot existed until maybe a year or a year and a half ago when I was discussing, old television from the 70s. I think
mhm.
we did a Battlestar Galactica show, a Buck Rogers show back, maybe a year and a half ago, and then somebody pointed out ISIS, and then I had to go look for it. And, again, this is one of those shows that I really couldn't find a lot of imagery for.
Mhm.
It's just, this flying shot, and not a lot of photos of the shows. A couple of screenshots from people that kind of digitize some of the episodes or whatever. But it's interesting. Yeah, big crush, Joanna Cameron. And one of the things that I discovered, ISIS actually was the first female led superhero show,
Oh,
which preceded Wonder Woman by 2 months,
amazing. Yeah. I
which
was
I
gonna
find
say, when you
fascinating.
showed me the picture, I was like, "Oh my god." I watched that show as well. And
Yeah.
then before we came on, I was like, "Did you used to watch Sid and Marty Krofft?" And what the show was, I was trying to remember.
Mhm.
It was called, Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. That was the
The name
show
sounds
that,
familiar.
and that was on, in 1976. So it was like 2 women. It was funny because one of them was, like, tall and blonde and the other one was little. So, I was saying, like, we were having these female superheroes, and so
Mhm.
when you're, like, a young woman, like, same with Princess Leia, you have these strong female leads. It
Mm.
really makes an amazing impression on you
Sure. Yeah.
growing up.
Both shows came out in 1975. Wonder Woman came out in November of that year,
Mhm.
and ISIS came out in September. So missed it by that much.
Yes, yes. Call you on my shoe phone there.
Exactly. Exactly.
That was probably my favorite show growing up as a little kid,
Oh,
by
I
the
love
way.
it. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think I still
Gone
watch.
Adams.
I still watch. I sometimes I do like a little rewatch,
The
but
Cone of Silence.
Cone of Silence. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Agent 86, Barbara Eden or
Yeah.
Barbara Feldman?
Hmm.
Barbara, one of them.
Yeah, not
Okay.
Barbara Eden. That's
Not
Jeannie.
Barbara Eden, Barbara, it was, well, they did a remake of that actually, and it was really good with Steve Carell. I loved it, and
I remember
Anne
that.
Hathaway.
Yeah,
But no, really
absolutely.
great. So you and I could just talk about, like, stuff we grew up with all day. And I'm
Absolutely.
coming
All
down to
day.
Chicago. I'm going to come. I promise. I have to come
Excellent,
for a
excellent,
visit.
excellent. Can't wait, can't wait. All
Mhm.
right, what do you got next? Let's go to the 25th century with
Ooh.
Buck Rogers.
Now, I know you said you had a crush on Isis. I can't remember if I had a crush on Gil
Hmm.
Gerard. Possibly. I put this picture on the one on the left on my Instagram, and someone was like saying how he had sweet heels. And I was like, "Oh, you're right. They are. They're like a Cuban heel, like, that a dancer would wear." And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if maybe that's what they are. They're like
Huh.
a dancer's shoe.
Sure.
And Gil Gerard had sick moves. He was an
Yeah.
amazing dancer, like,
Yeah.
so good.
I still love that scene where he's trying to get the DJ to kind of loosen up, and the
Yeah,
song plays. I
it's so good.
love that scene.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, when I went back to look at this, I forgot, like, this is one thing, back in the 70s, they used to do pilots, and the pilot would be a mini movie or a movie. Like, so this was a 90-minute movie, the pilot,
Mhm.
and then they waited to see how it was received, and if it was received well, then they made it into a TV series. So this outfit he's wearing was actually, he wore it in the pilot. And it was designed by Jean-Pierre Dorliac, who also did Battlestar Galactica.
Ooh.
So this outfit, it went up for auction at one point. So it's a white polyester satin 2-piece ensemble, and it includes a long sleeve pullover rib V-neck tunic with a detachable collar and embroidered earth with laurel patch affixed to the center chest, and a pair of matching elastic waist ribbed paneled pants with stirrups. But one thing I thought was really, really interesting is that, oh, and of course, his helmet, which you were talking about on social media is
Oh, so
probably not the
yeah,
best design.
somebody said it was it looked dangerous
It looks
and very pointy in the
yeah,
forehead there. So if your head kind
absolutely.
of does something weird, you get hurt.
Yeah.
But it still looks cool.
Yeah, but he, obviously these suits on the women and the men, it doesn't leave much to, you have to be in pretty good physical shape to be able to wear these outfits. But this was a thing in
Right.
the 70s. This designer, he's really interesting. He was sort of talking about how he envisioned the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he was trying to use, fabrics and things like that that were a little bit different. Obviously he had worked in other types of shows, but like historical shows. But for the future, he was like, well, the world is my oyster. I can sort of imagine how I would want it to look. And so he tried to use different types of fabrics. And he kind of did this sort of Star Wars thing where he wanted to create that sort of really crisp, like bright color as opposed to, say something like Aliens, which is very dark and everything.
Dark,
He
right.
kind of went with that sort of technological, futuristic look. But the one thing that I thought was really, really fascinating, and I never knew this, is that he knew Edith Head, who is a very famous costume designer. She's won like 8 Academy Awards. And Edith had told him, because we were speaking about collectibles earlier, that when he signs his contract, he should ask to keep at least 6 of his costumes.
Wow.
So he actually would keep some of them, and which is a good thing because in some cases they would they would get sold off, or I'll tell you later
Sure.
when we get to Battlestar Galactica. But I was like, a lot of costume designers don't do that nowadays. They do not keep the costumes ever.
Mhm.
Like there might be the odd occasion where they might take some small thing, but I have never heard of a costume designer having it in their contract that they get to keep
Mm.
certain pieces that they designed.
It's a shame too because so much work goes into putting these costumes. They are so
Mhm.
intricate and beautiful, and then they end up maybe 12 seconds of screen time or even less, and then what?
Mhm.
Obviously all of them cannot have kind of like a Lucasfilm archive where everything goes into a warehouse, special collection for the films and stuff like that for the company. But
Yeah.
a lot of these films don't enjoy that privilege, and where do they end up? It's a shame.
Yeah, there was a sort of like one of the costume people that I follow online. She was saying there's some kind of auction going on right now, and people were mad that the auction houses are charging what they're charging. Like this outfit, for instance, went up for auction. That's where some of these pictures come from.
Yeah.
And I've often defended the auction houses, first of all, because they do such a great job archiving the costumes. They take amazing photos. They do the back, the front, the side, close-ups of all the details. So, if you're a cosplayer, you can get really, I think that is probably a pin because as you can see in the picture there, he's not wearing it. So
Right.
I suspect it was a pin. Does it
Sure.
say here?
Yeah, could be a pin.
It doesn't say. Oh, wait, and it's embroidered. It's an embroidered earth with laurel patch affixed to the center chest. So it's
Okay.
a patch. It's a patch.
Okay. All right.
Um, but anyway, so yeah, they archive everything. I think I've mentioned this to you before, bro. And then, and the reason why the prices can go up and up and up is because let's say one person will buy it. They'll have it in their collection for a while. And then they'll go, okay, or maybe someone passes away and then someone in their family will sell it. So it's like anything. It's like it appreciates, right, over time. And it's not just about what the item is, it's about the um kind of the importance that it has. So for instance, I kind of got into a fight with somebody about Dorothy's dress from The Wizard of Oz
Okay.
because, honestly, it's just a very simple blue gingham jumper, like, with a blouse, and the shoes aren't even included in it, but there's only a few that exist, and it has such historical importance
Right.
that it's not the dress itself that is
Mhm.
important. It's the fact that it was worn by Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz. There's only a few, like the same with the shoes.
Sure.
There's only a few pairs of shoes. So it's our feelings about it. It's how we feel
Absolutely.
about that item. Yes, the ruby slippers. And so that's why something like Marilyn Monroe's 7-year itch dress
Right.
went for like millions
Sure.
because it's so iconic, right?
Yeah.
So whereas something like, the John Wick one we just did, like some of those things went for like $500 or something,
Mhm.
like they don't have the same weight.
Sure.
Now, I don't know, like 50 years in the future, they may.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Who knows, right? Like some of the collectibles that you have in the future might be like worth a lot. So that's the reason why it's like anything. It's an investment that these people make. And but anyway, I now want to go back and rewatch the pilot.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's an hour and a half. It's a very, so I'm going to redo that. I think I'm going to go watch all the pilots.
That's too funny. Yeah. Speaking of collectibles and things like that, and I think that's one of
Mhm.
the reasons that as a collector, we each have our piece that we connect to. And again, it's not because it's this valuable piece of plastic, it's the value that we put on it that makes it special. I think we want to be able to connect with not only our childhood, but anything that we watched as a kid, anything that we watched, growing up, whether it's an action figure, a toy gun, a blaster, whatever. But I think collecting, besides it being fun, I think it's a very personal thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, by the way, someone was talking about the feather outfit. I think that okay, what is the show that um that George Lucas grew up loving that he wanted to make a space western about? Do you know what I'm
Oh
talking about?
yeah, it was Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon. Yeah, I
Right.
think that might be there was I believe there was like a 1970s 1980s Flash Gordon
Mm-hmm.
and
And besides a movie, though, I think it was a movie with Dolph Lundgren.
yeah, I just remember the villain in it though. I think he wore yes, Dolph Lundgren was in
Yeah. See.
it.
Yeah.
Max von
And
Sydow's in it. Oh,
yeah.
Sam Jones was Flash Gordon. Okay,
Yeah.
so what year was that from? 1980. But
And
is that what you're talking about? Because I do remember there was somebody wearing. Oh yeah, the villain. The villain was wearing the guy with the eyebrows and the bald head. I
yeah,
think.
is this what Dave is talking about?
Yeah. Was it a
I think it
hawk or
was.
an eagle? Is that
I
what
think
you're
it was.
talking about?
No,
Or is it Buck Rogers?
it was. I think it was Buck Rogers.
Okay.
Buck Rogers. The second season was when Hawk was in it, and
Mhm.
it was the dude with the feathered head. That was the
Yeah,
second
and for
season of that
everybody,
show.
Erin Gray, absolutely. She was just like and again, she looks amazing by the way too.
Sure,
Still.
of
Yeah.
course.
She and
Yeah,
Linda Carter, all of them. They all look so good.
absolutely.
No, she was absolutely stunning. And it was funny because I saw her outfit, her like it looks like a sailor girl. I saw
Yes.
that came up for auction.
Yeah.
It's like
Was it the
Sailor
blue one?
Moon. It's a blue and
The
white
blue
sailor
one with
outfit.
yeah, with it.
And
It definitely looks
it
like
would
a
look
sailor.
like a little boat neck and it's
Yeah.
short. And I'm laughing and I'm like, that's supposed to be her like on like, when
Space
she's
outfit.
but it looks like
Did it
Sailor
come with
Moon. It
a
made me
did it
laugh.
did it come with a hat?
I don't think it
You
had a
remember the
hat.
hat?
No, I think it's when she's on the bridge or what have you. I think she wears
Yeah.
that.
That's too funny.
But I mean, you can't say anything because like Jill Gerard's outfits were so tight and as
Right.
well, and this is part of everything had to be tight, everything had to be skimpy. This
Sure.
was, uh, one of the things that one of the designers said is that his job was making the women look beautiful and gorgeous. That was,
Mhm.
kind of and making the men obviously look very handsome and sexy. So I
Sure.
think they did a good job with that in the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely. What a fun time.
So fun. And it's like, I'm mentioning Charlie's Angels because again, like they just like every episode, they're like, oh my God, how many clothes they would go through, like tons and
Mhm.
tons and tons and tons of clothes. And this is before like Dynasty and any of those big soap operas that came out
Sure.
like later. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like what is she wearing? Oh, that's amazing. And then my friends and I would actually we actually had a Charlie's Angels club. We had a Star Wars
Mhm.
club. We had a Charlie's Angels club. Probably had a Planet of the Apes club.
Sure, yeah.
And we would play
Absolutely.
all the different roles. Like we were such nerds. And it was just
That's
all
funny.
girls though, right?
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So we pretended I always had to be Kate the smart one.
Yeah, right. I could see the resemblance.
Yeah. Well, now, yeah, totally. I think that was perfect for me. Whereas my friends were blonde, so they got to be Jill and they got to be whoever the other one was.
That might I
Catherine
might have
Smith.
to do a hashtag wait a damn minute post. You and Kate.
Oh, yeah. She was
Absolutely.
also an Emergency. Do you remember Emergency?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
Emergency. Yeah.
Kate Jackson. She
Yeah.
was the nurse on Emergency, sexy nurse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
when I come to Chicago, I'll dress up like Kate,
That would be
Kate
awesome. Yeah.
Jackson from Emergency.
Too funny.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
All right. The next one that I have, and I know
Mhm.
it's been mentioned in the chat a couple of times. One of my favorite shows of the 70s, post Star Wars on television, was Battlestar Galactica, the original Battlestar Galactica. I tried watching the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, speaking of reboots, but I really couldn't get into it.
Yeah. Husband watched it. He did really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, by the way, the showrunner on that is the same showrunner as Outlander, which
Oh,
is really
okay.
weird, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Too
but then he
funny.
did the Cylon series as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Caprica.
Right. Oh, I loved Caprica.
Yeah,
It
I
was
really
it was
loved it.
it was interesting. It was an
Yeah.
interesting premise. I think
Mhm.
it might have been a little too cerebral for regular fans or regular people. I don't
Yeah,
know. It
I thought
just
it was really good.
yeah, very very nice.
Mhm.
So one of the things that I really really love about Battlestar Galactica, obviously besides the the fact that at the time it was almost like Star Wars on television, and it did share a lot of DNA with Star Wars. There were a lot of behind the scenes people on both shows that were working on the TV shows, the folks from ILM. But one of the things that I really loved, I obviously I love the cast. They have such a wonderful wonderful chemistry. But the costumes, again, very well thought out.
Mhm.
They don't look like cheesy 70s costumes. They don't look like, and I'll give you an example. You know that show, that show Space 1999 or UFO.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like especially UFO, I think had some very interesting costumes where it definitely looked 70s. There was a lot of stretchy spandex that covered the actors, but this one really looks like it came from that era, or it came from that universe. You've got these jackets, these flight suits that
Mhm.
were incredibly intricate. I mean, take a look at the Apollo's dress uniform. The what do you call it? The detail on the edge. You've got the necklace. You've got the piping on the collar, and obviously his warrior emblems there. Really, really nice, nice looking outfits, and obviously, talking about eye candy for the ladies. Both Apollo and Starbuck were definitely that for the show.
Mhm. Oh yeah, I was into Dirk Benedict. He was sort of my style. But then and I forgot Rick Springfield had been it. So
Yeah,
love Rick Springfield. I was going to tell you a quick story about this. Can I tell you after
yeah.
watching that interview? So this is really terrible. But after Battlestar Galactica shut down, apparently there was a ride, Battlestar Galactica ride.
Hmm.
I don't know where it was. They sent them all of the costumes, and so the staff who ran the ride, the Battlestar Galactica ride, wore all of the warrior outfits, and then they had these other guys wear the Cylon outfits that would kind of jump out and scare the
Oh
people
my
on the ride,
God. Wow.
and they basically destroyed and trashed the costumes. Isn't that
Oh no,
terrible?
it's horrible.
But
Yeah.
but I was mentioning the costume designer, he had it in his contract that he would get to keep a few of the costumes. So he got to keep, I think, Rick Springfield's costume, which was, he said it's in, pristine condition. The only thing
Nice.
he didn't get was the helmet. But obviously, this has come up for auction, though, I believe, right?
Yes, I think I remember seeing it in the prop store catalog.
Yeah.
And besides Star Wars, obviously, I mean, I think Battlestar Galactica for me is holds a lot of great memories. Obviously, Star Wars is a deep love for me. I think one of the biggest exciting movie experiences for me was seeing the Battlestar Galactica movie in the movie theater, because I think
Mhm.
the projectionist at the time had the volume up to like 12 or
Wow.
some crazy
And
number,
it was
and
long. It was like 2 hours and like 20 minutes or something.
something like that. Yeah.
It
But
was long.
I remember when the Colonial Vipers flew out of the Galactica, the rumble of the seats in the theater, it was very immersive. And as a kid, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is great.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the reasons I really love the show. Obviously, the characters. Rick Springfield's character's name was Zach. He was Apollo's little brother.
Apollo's little brother. Yep.
And Rick Springfield turned out to be a huge Star Wars fan. He's got a lot of action figures. He's got
Oh,
some
yeah?
some very
That's
valuable
I've always loved
figures.
him. I think he used to be
And
on General Hospital.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I wonder if he's made any attempts to kind of maybe grab some costumes from the show, since he was in it and he's such a fan of Star Wars. I
Mhm.
think it would be kind of cool. Especially if his character's costume was still around. I think that would be great.
I have to tell you, this is really funny. So the designer, he had one of the Cylon costumes, and
Mhm.
someone, a huge fan, approached him and said, "I'll give you 75 grand for that costume," and he gave it to
Wow.
him. He
Wow.
sold it to him. So if Rick Springfield has 75 grand, he probably would sell it.
Very
um,
nice.
the other little story I was going to tell you, and I don't know what, I have to go back and kind of go through this, but was there a comic or something?
Yeah, there's, comic adaptations of these shows
Okay,
for sure.
so apparently the designer said that I guess they made a comic and then they depicted these outfits in the comic, and then someone accused the designer of stealing the ideas from the comic, even though it was his own show. Like, he did the movie, and
Mhm.
then he went and did, and then he did the 2.5 hour movie, 2 hour 20-minute movie, created all these character costumes, and then he went on and did like 21 episodes or something.
Mhm.
So, and then someone accused him of stealing his own work, and it was really, really strange. Isn't that
That's
bizarre?
weird. It was,
But
yeah.
the fun fact I wanted to tell you is that the buckles that are on the jacket, those
Mhm.
are actually purse fasteners. So he
Oh.
said that he had been collecting these buckles for some reason. He was like, I don't know, I'm going to do with these purse fasteners. And so he was like, oh, you know what? These would actually be really great jacket fasteners. And then people were asking, like, well, why are the guys always just wearing the jackets open? And he said, well, they kind of wanted to have it be a little bit more relaxed, like a relaxed sort of feeling to them. So
Mhm.
that's why they usually just sort of wore it open, to give it that. And but the other thing is, he said that a lot of the trims and things he used like real gold bullion. He didn't use
Oh,
like
wow.
acetate. Like, he used very high quality products. And for the warriors, he used earthy colors for them. But then people like, is it Graham Greene or who's
Uh,
the
Commander Adama, Lauren
Adama?
Green,
What's his name again?
Lauren Green.
Lauren Green. Sorry,
Yeah.
he's Canadian,
Oh, cool.
by the way. He was on another big show before that, like Big Country or something. But
Bonanza.
Bonanza, that's it.
Yeah.
For the commanders, like for the high ranking people, he wanted to do sort of like a sky colors, like, like the night sky, like the blues of the night sky with the stars
Sure.
and everything. So that's why they're sort of like that. And then the other fun fact that I wanted to tell you is that Ralph McQuarrie actually,
Mhm.
of Star Wars, came up with the original Cylon design,
Yeah.
but the designer kind of took it and sort of made his own. So those were the
Absolutely.
sort of the
And
things I came across today, and I
sure.
was like, but I need to do some more digging into it
Yeah.
because
It's
it's
fun.
really
It's
fascinating,
fun.
right?
It is fun. Ralph McQuarrie designed, obviously, he's a technical illustrator. He designed a lot of ships for science fiction in the 70s. Obviously, George Lucas picked him up. Um, Ralph McQuarrie designed a ship that looked like what the X-wing ended up being, and it was Buck Rogers' ship that was almost going to be an X-wing, but George discarded that design, and then it ended up being the X-wing. Obviously, the Colonial Viper is in there as well,
Mhm.
but
Well,
like
and
I
if you look
said,
at these early concepts for the Cylons, they
yeah,
look like stormtroopers. Like, I
sure.
think they have like a T thing,
Right.
if I
And then
remember
obviously
right,
the
like
uh the,
back
the
in the day.
clone troopers from the
Yeah, the clone
prequel
troopers.
trilogy
Yeah.
are very reminiscent. of the
And
that
it
tea
was supposed to
design.
have a bit of an Etruscan sort of thing,
Sure.
whereas the other people are supposed to have like a bit of a um, we were going to talk about this about an Egyptian sort of influence.
Yeah, and thank you very much for reminding me.
Mhm.
Obviously, you've got the very prominent Egyptian iconography in Battlestar Galactica. If you
Mhm.
know the series, um, as a kid, I was fascinated by ancient Egypt. I learned, I tried to learn and read as much as I could about ancient Egyptians. I read as much as I could about King Tut and Howard Carter and the archaeology of the time. The helmet here, obviously, the flight helmet is very reminiscent of a pharaoh's headdress. But
Mhm.
one of the things that I didn't realize, going back to the ISIS show, is again obviously very Egyptian. Isis, the goddess of I don't know what she's the goddess of, but
Yeah, and she's
um,
got and then she carries like a staff, which I guess is she use what does she do with the staff? Of course,
yeah, I can't remember
pharaohs would
now.
have had a staff.
Right. And then she's got the symbol of the Ankh, I think, on her head
Yeah.
and her chest. But again, it's very Egyptian. And I
Mhm.
think
Like
that's
Cleopatra.
right. That's one of the things that really attracted me to the show. I mean, both shows, obviously. I think there's a kind of a weird little Egyptian connection, at least for me, which is one of the reasons I enjoy both shows. Um, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah, Isis is the goddess of healing and magic.
Okay.
And that symbol she's wearing on her headdress and her is actually, I guess, from her iconography.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Uh yeah, which it's like Queen of the Throne, which is reflected in her headdress.
Yeah. Cool.
So and actually it's funny because in if anybody watches Downton Abbey, the Hugh Donneville's character has a dog named Isis. And then
Oh,
it
okay.
became a problem during during the war of terror.
Too funny.
Well, anyway, I'm a huge fan of Ralph McQuarrie.
And
I
he's calling right now.
He is. That was him. He's texting me. I think I could probably easily say he was probably one of the most talented um concept artists of of our century, like of the last
Yeah,
century. Like
and
probably I
it's
can't imagine him more talent. He's incredibly talented.
and if you go into a rabbit hole and do research on his schematics and his drawings, I
Mhm.
think you'd be definitely surprised as how much he has contributed to modern science fiction
Yeah.
besides Star Wars.
We were talking about this today because first off, I was going to say about the Egyptian thing. There was a like Edgar Casey was a big thing, I think, back in the 70s, and there was a lot of like people were sort of obsessed with I don't know if they call it Egyptology, like
Mhm.
Egyptian symbols and that type of thing. And Edgar Casey was like saw into the future, kind of like a Nostradamus. So there was a lot of like I don't know. Like you say, Tutankhamun was really big at
Yeah,
the time. So I think it seems normal that that would have sort of seeped into pop culture,
sure.
but um just it kind of just blows me away how much when I look at everything, and even now when I look at something I'll go that's Ralph McQuarrie, like I
Right.
know that's him. And there's even like and even the new showrunners of some of the series on Disney, they even do a nod to him. They'll be like, this
Yeah.
is like a nod to Ralph McQuarrie. Like,
Yeah, it's wonderful to see some of those
mhm,
old designs kind of brought back into the mainstream with some of the new shows. Absolutely.
mhm. I
Yeah.
think that, like someone like who's the showrunner of The Mandalorian? He's a really famous director.
John Favreau.
John Favreau, he's a huge fan of
Mhm.
everything, right? So even the artwork that they include at the end of the show and the music and that sort of
Right.
spaghetti western sort of
Mhm.
feel like, seven samurai kind of like spaghetti western. I just love that he
Yeah.
just they leaned into it so heavily.
Sure.
It that just warms my cockles.
Yes. And I'm a very big proponent of not walking around here with cold cockles.
No,
So
no cold cockles, only warm cockles. I don't even know what a cockle is. Do
I
you?
know.
It's
No,
like,
but
is it a Christmas thing?
I'm glad they're warm.
I just keep them under my armpit.
Yeah.
And it's always like, yeah. So how are we
So
doing here, Ro? Are we winning the battle?
we're winning the battle, absolutely. So you mentioned some names, or we have both mentioned some names of some very lovely actresses that we enjoy from the 70s. You got Lindsay Wagner, Joanna Cameron from ISIS, and obviously I gotta say, I'm gonna go out on a limb, but I don't think not too many people are gonna blame me for this, but I think one of the most beautiful women on television in any era has to be Linda Carter, who starred as Wonder Woman in the show of the same name.
Yeah,
So
true that.
here is Wonder Woman's outfit. And tell us a little bit about why you chose this, although it's plain, painfully obvious. Wonder Woman is an iconic character in the DC universe, but Linda Carter made her, infamous.
Yeah, well, she's one of those people. I mean, honestly, she's kind of perfection. I mean, who wouldn't love to work with her? When I was reading about this one designer, he was like, "Oh, I had to work with, I had to sort of, increase the size of breasts. I had to reduce the size of breasts. I had to like squish people in. I had to like, but honestly, she is like perfection." I shared this picture. I believe I shared it with you of her in like a one piece, like a unitard bathing suit,
Mm-hmm.
the blue one.
And thank you, by the way.
Yeah, and I put it up on social media and I was like, it's crazy. This like her figure. So she must have been an absolute dream just to be able to dress. So her outfit kind of reminds me, I don't know if you guys have ever examined like Playboy bunnies. It's kind of like a corset style,
Oh
bodysuit.
yeah,
So it does have, but at the same time, most of it really is her. So
sure.
it's not even that elaborate, really.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it in the box there. There's not much to it, but
Right.
and
And
I think it's
it's very faithful to the comic book
mhm.
costume from the 50s.
Yeah, no, they
Absolutely.
they did say that okay, so the designer's name was Don Feld. And it says his sketches remain quite true to the character's comic book look,
Yes.
though his graceful pencils made the artwork a high style vibe of something you might find in the workroom of Yves Saint Laurent. And the show was originally set in World War II, but once the series moved into the present, the costume changed, and the solid gold eagle emblem was replaced by golden stripes, and the number of white stars on her trunks were replaced quite a bit. So there was some, so now the one thing I found out, I thought this was really interesting, is that her bracelets in
Mm-hmm.
it's not mentioned in the comics, but in the show, they decided to give it a little bit of a backstory. So the bracelets were called the bracelets of submission,
Oh, wow.
and they were made of a metal known as feminine. It's like vibranium, but it's feminine,
Right.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
And this metal was never mentioned in the comics and has never been referenced again. But in the two-part episode, The Feminine Mystique, the Nazis attempt to harvest the rare metal from Paradise Island or Themyscira. I'm not sure how you say her home world.
I think you
Uh,
got it right. Yeah.
yeah, did I get it? Okay. And then the other thing is, so when she's like pew pew, like they're
Yeah.
shooting at her and she has to do, and there's sparks. Well, that was
Blocking.
actually a practical effect. So the bracelets had pyrotechnic charges in them
Oh, cool.
that created the sparks. They were activated by a remote obscured by Linda Carter in her hand, but the remote is often visible, especially in the pilot episode. So if you ever watch the pilot, keep an eye out for that. Now, of all, we've been talking about preserving costumes and then going to auction and them getting trash. This is one thing I'm kind of happy about it, but at the same time I was a little bit sad. So Linda Carter has her costumes, which I was very happy to hear that. She should have them,
Yes.
really. She wore them, it says she admitted that she still had them. She says, "I happen to have one of the costumes from the first season's 40s era." So there's a 1940s era, and one of them from the updated version. but they're falling it apart. They're falling apart in a closet somewhere.
Oh,
Like that made me so sad.
yeah,
Like obviously that picture you showed, there must have been another one
yeah.
because it looks like it's perfectly preserved. So Linda, if you're watching this, I love you, but please go into the closet and pull it out and take it to an archivist and
Yes.
see if they could possibly restore it because that would be just such a huge loss, right?
Absolutely.
And
And it's funny because I think from a pop culture standpoint, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, costumes in these television shows and movies are so significant. Not
mhm,
only for their significance in television history, but really in pop culture. I think that's one aspect of our fandom about all these genres that I think is really something that a lot of fans don't really think
mhm.
too deeply on. They think of the
Yeah.
characters and stuff like that, but at this point, decades later, where are these items? Where are these artifacts? And I use the word artifacts because sometimes they're old and forgotten relics of a
Mhm.
time long past. And if I had like Elon Musk money, I would create a museum to house and take care of all these wonderful, wonderful things. I think it's too bad that there isn't, or maybe there is an organization you might know, uh, maybe an organization to kind of house all of
Well,
these.
Debbie Reynolds used to have one of the best collections, but unfortunately,
Yes.
she ended up
Yeah.
selling it. And I don't know if she had any of Carrie Fisher's things, but she had a lot of her own stuff right in there.
Yeah.
And she had a lot of like even her friends, like, Liz Taylor would go, here's my Cleopatra cloak or something. So
Right.
um oh, by the way, I did want to say this, and I think this is a very rare case that the costume designer did win an Emmy for his designs on the show,
Very
which
nice.
is so incredibly rare for a science fiction show to
Sure.
win, or actually, sorry, in this case, it's a superhero show.
Right.
Now, they have started adding categories, but they didn't do this years ago. They only had one category, like best costumes,
Sure.
outstanding costume design, I think it was called. Nowadays, they have like science fiction, fantasy, they have contemporary, they have historical. Was back then they only had the one category.
Sure.
So he would have had to have gone up against
Everyone.
all of the other shows.
Sure.
And
That's
I hate
tough.
to say this, but back then, like fantasy, science fiction, um, superheroes were not given the same
Right.
attention.
It was all just, kiddie stuff, not
Yeah.
very serious.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been like,
Pulpy.
BBC type show or something,
Right.
era,
Yeah.
or like, something a little more serious would have been more likely to win. But I guess it was so amazing. It was so outstanding that they were like, we have to give it to him. So I think
Sure.
that's so great.
It is. Let's play a little what if game. Do you remember who the actress was before Linda Carter that played Wonder Woman
No,
in the movie?
Eartha Kitt.
There was no, no. There was a Wonder Woman. There was a Wonder Woman movie that
No. Is it
and
someone I would know?
yeah,
Really?
yeah, back in the day.
Was she blonde and was she brunette and with blue eyes?
No, she was actually blonde, like
Oh, no, see,
blonde.
that doesn't work for me at all.
1974. Kathy Lee Crosby.
Oh, wow. Well, she's gorgeous.
Yeah,
She was gorgeous.
yeah. And the costume was completely different. It was more
Yeah.
covered up,
Yeah.
less.
Probably because of the censors.
Sure, sure. That's too
Someone
funny.
was writing something about that to me today on my Logan's Run video. Because
Mm,
Logan's Run is like just a year after Star Wars.
right.
And it's incredibly skimpy. Like even more skimpy than any of the things that we're showing, I think, right now.
Yeah.
And so, but apparently a lot of, I guess, because of the censor laws, I think they still had them in the 60s. So it was like once the censor laws were lifted, they were
Mhm.
like, let's go at it. Let's just do it. See what happens.
Too funny.
Hmm.
All right, so I got one more, which is one of my picks, and I
Yeah.
think maybe 2 years ago I did a rewatch of 2 seasons of everyone's favorite show on television during the 70s,
Yeah.
Space 1999.
I love this show. Like growing up, I absolutely love this show.
Yes, absolutely. I think again, it's one of those shows from the 70s that obviously at first glance it's very you get a corn factor, you get kind of like a tongue-in-cheek thing.
Mhm.
But when you really start watching the show, the drama, the actors, especially what's this actor's name?
Martin Landau?
Martin Landau.
Mhm.
He had such a he had such a wonderful philosophy about the show and how the writers should treat the premise and the characters, that I think because of his staunch belief in the show and all the actors that were part of it, I think that's why it became such a cult classic. Now season 2, there's a lot of shows that suffered, we'll call it the Fred Freiberger syndrome of second season television shows. He was a producer that kind of changed a lot of television in the 70s, especially long running science fiction. You've got, he handled Star Trek. Towards the end, he did Buck Rogers second season. The second season was so different than the first season, and that also
Mhm.
includes Space 1999. He had this philosophy of, okay, we did the first season, let's change everything for the second season, because people have already seen what this show is about for this first season. Nobody's going to want to come back to see something similar in the second season, so let's change everything. And that was kind of the demise of a lot of science fiction television that ran a second season under his watch. Again, the Fred Freiberger syndrome. But again, being a kid with a lot of crushes back in the day, I think Maya, this shapeshifter character, was another one of my crushes.
Yeah, she had those. I was thought I was super fascinated with her eyebrows. They were like dots.
Yes.
I was like, what
Yeah.
is going on there? What was she a hybrid? I can't remember what she was.
She was half human, half shapeshifter.
Mm. Okay,
And
can I ask you? I don't know. I can't. What year was this from?
1979, I think. No, I'm
Because
sorry. No, less than 70, not 79. 1975 to 77.
because I'm looking at this space uniforms, and do they not look like Stanley Kubrick's uniforms from 2001: Space Odyssey?
Yes. And what year was Stanley Kubrick 2001's movie came out?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah. So Space 1999 was 1975 to 1977.
Oh, it's
Catherine
68.
Shell,
It's 68.
68.
So yeah.
Okay.
So they
They
wow.
probably,
Wow,
I
that's
mean,
crazy that that was 68.
yeah, they might have borrowed.
You know what? That's, I
Yeah,
totally would.
sure.
It's funny because the one thing when I was doing because I did Logan's Run the movie, and then I went and did Logan's Run the TV show. I went back and rewatched the whole thing, and it was, by the way, it was a blast. I had so much fun watching it. And the thing that I always notice in all 70s TV shows, is mock turtlenecks. I do not
Oh,
know what the deal is with those.
sure. Hmm.
Or dickies, they always wore like a dickie.
Right.
It seems to be, and then kind of a bit of a leisure suit, like that relaxed fit, like an unstructured suit. That seems to be what they envision in the future. Like they don't wear suits, they wear a
Yeah,
relaxed
sure.
casual suit that's comfortable and you can lounge in, and it
Yeah.
won't wrinkle because it's polyester, right?
It's too funny. Nicole's
We
got a
should do
great
this again.
suggestion. Yeah.
We should do the
An
80s.
80s version. Yeah.
Nicole, I love it. Are
Yes,
you up for
absolutely.
it? That'll be so fun.
So
To do the 80s.
Space 1999 was a very interesting show. If you pay attention to the actors during the show, and obviously this was before Star Wars. The last show aired in 1977, but there's a lot of Star Wars actors in Space 1999. You've got Peter Cushing, you've got David Prowse,
Wow.
you've got
And David Prowse is himself? Like he's
no, David Prowse unfortunately has always played a creature or someone with a
okay.
mask on. So
But was he using his own voice?
As far as only him growling and grunting because he played a creature.
Okay, because he's got a bit of a
Yeah,
squeaky British voice.
yeah,
I don't
totally.
know. Sorry, that's a terrible.
Hackney. Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah, Cockney. It's a
Yeah.
terrible impression of poor David Prowse.
But yeah, so there's a lot of Star Wars actors in there. Like when I was doing my rewatch, I'm like, oh, I recognize him and I recognize that guy
Mhm.
and this guy. And like I
Does Peter
said,
Cushing not have the best cheekbones of all time? Like, swear to
yeah,
God, his cheekbones are like,
totally sculpted.
and they did a lot of
Perfect.
those Hammer films and stuff. He's like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So
60s would be fun too.
60s would be fun. So out of all the shows, out of all of your picks, or let's clump them all together. I mean, what were some of your favorite shows watching for costumes? But what are some of the favorite shows that you selected today?
I would probably say that Buck Rogers for sure was my absolute
Yeah.
favorite. I remember I went and stayed. We were traveling, and I had to stay with my aunt and uncle, and they used to watch the Waltons. Do you remember? Did you ever watch that show?
I did not watch the Waltons. Obviously, I know about the
We
Waltons,
called it the
but
Walnuts. My
the
aunt and uncle.
Walnuts. Yeah.
Anyway, I was 10. I think I was 10, maybe 12 or something, and they were like, "What's wrong, Heidi?" And I'm like, well, I usually watch Buck Rogers on Sunday nights, and I was devastated. And they actually let me and they sat with me and watched Buck
Oh,
Rogers
wow. Oh,
because my mom had left me there.
yeah.
And if I had to miss an episode, and you guys, I think if you are of our age, you know that we didn't get to go back and rewatch it later. If once it aired,
Right.
that was it
That was it. Yeah. No
until it
VCRs, no
maybe it was
YouTube, no nothing.
syndicated or something or reruns sometimes. So once you missed it, that was it. So
That was
I
it.
was going to be completely.
Dave
He's
Richards
got
is
a
from the
West
UK.
County
Yeah.
accent.
Dave Richards is from the UK, so he'll know.
Oh, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor. I kind of feel bad for David Prowse because he's kind of an unsung hero. He did all the physical work,
Yeah.
and that I mean, like Andy Samberg, like not Andy Samberg, Andy, the other Andy. Oh, of course I remember The Littlest Hobo.
I don't
Of
remember that
course,
one.
it's a Canadian show. It's about a
Oh.
little dog
Oh,
that
yeah. Charles is
he's
Canadian.
yes, he is it's a German Shepherd that goes from town to town and he takes on a little case each episode. Yeah, it's very Canadian. I love The Littlest Hobo.
Too funny. Yeah.
Thanks, Charles. Yeah,
I'm
so I was so Buck Rogers for sure.
Buck
Go
Rogers.
ahead. You tell me what yours is.
Well, I'm upset that we didn't include Princess Ardala's costume or lack thereof in our costumes, but
Yes. Maybe we can do it another time. But I
absolutely.
mean she was amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the lady from V. She kind of reminds me of her. Did you ever watch V? If we're going to do
Yeah.
80s, we could do maybe V.
Yeah.
Kind of had a similar,
Jane,
sexy.
what's her name? Jane Badler.
Oh, she was so
Yeah.
good.
She was great.
Oh, amazing.
Absolutely.
The other show I probably would have included if but just maybe the costumes weren't as like riveting is the Planet of the Apes series.
Yes.
It was actually really good. I
Yeah.
went on a binge at one point and I rewatched all of the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, and then it kind of eventually I don't know, it just sort of petered out, I think.
Sure.
But such a great show. But I couldn't think of like a costume from that. The movie, super iconic.
Sure.
But I couldn't think of anything from the series that would have made me go, that's something I would put in this show.
Yeah.
Diana V, yes.
Diana, yeah. So one of my favorite shows that we picked tonight is I've got a special love for Space 1999, but I think Battlestar Galactica for me is another one of those shows that I don't care, if it's on TV or wherever it's playing, I will sit down and I'll watch an episode of the original Battlestar Galactica.
I'm gonna watch. I think I'm gonna try and find the pilot.
Yeah. And I just bought the Steelbook of the movie on Blu-ray. Totally forgot. I bought that with the creator. Best Buy had a sale, and I bought those two. But the Steelbook of Battlestar Galactica, the movie, is great.
Ro, did you watch? Were you a big Doctor Who fan? Like, I never got into Doctor Who. I don't know if it was because I was in Canada. It wasn't on TV here, like that I know of, or
I didn't get into Doctor Who until later in life. My friends
Yeah.
in school really, really loved Doctor Who, but I thought it was cheesy. I thought it was too theatrical.
Yeah,
The
like Red
special
Dwarf
effects,
or like
yeah,
those. Yeah.
yeah. But I got into it when I was more of an adult because I watched the first one, the first of the new one with my
Like David
son. We got
Tennant.
into it. No, even back
Chris
the
Eccleston.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So I started
Yeah.
watching it with that with my son, and we really enjoyed it. Obviously, more modern stuff, but I never got into the the original ones. Although I'm aware of Tom Baker,
Hmm.
um, and
Whenever I go to like a Comic-Con or whatever, there's always
sure.
Daleks everywhere.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So I don't know much about it. Like my husband's really into Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like that's I think which is a similar, he
yeah.
loves that kind of stuff. Hi, comics
Um,
and cosmetics. You
oh,
missed everything. I don't know what to
you
tell you.
you missed this specifically. So, oh well. But all right. So I wanted to do a giveaway. I mentioned at the top of the show that I wanted to give away some of these little items that I bought on the Etsy shop. If you are familiar with my collaboration here with Heidi, we've done quite a few shows with Prop Store. So I want to give you guys instructions on how to win some of
Oh,
these.
really? Comics and Cosmetics says that they've been working on a Linda Carter video all week. That is
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah,
I can't wait
absolutely.
to
So you gotta
see it.
make sure you subscribe to her channel. She's
Yes.
fantastic. Okay, so here are the rules to win one of I got three items. So it's an Ahsoka, it's this little Grogu, and the Shore Trooper, which I didn't put on the graphic, but the Shore Trooper little Lego earrings, which are really cool. As I mentioned, Heidi and I have done a couple of shows with Prop Store. We covered some Star Wars items. We covered
Mhm.
some other movie items. If you want
Cute stuff.
if you want to qualify to win one of these Etsy items from Your Weird Ant shop on Etsy, do me a favor, screenshot a shot of yourself enjoying one of Heidi and I's Prop Store videos and tag both of us. And I will randomly select in the next week and a half. I will randomly select a winner, and I will send out either the
Oh,
Ahsoka or the Grogu.
yeah. Oh, are you doing the Shore Trooper or no? You're
I
keeping
am
that?
no, I'll do the Shore Trooper. And
Okay,
let me,
Charles is asking. You have it in your hand though there, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
here
they're so
is
cute. How
their.
heavy are they? Are they heavy?
No, not
Oh,
at
okay.
all.
So they won't hurt your ears if you wear
Yeah,
them.
there you go.
They're so cute.
Yeah, but the Ahsoka is really nice too.
Yeah. They are really nice.
I like the Grogu too.
I love those. I think and I like them because they're a little bit smaller. I don't know if I'd be comfortable wearing big earrings like that.
Right.
The
Turn
closest they would
around.
look good on Charles.
Turn around, Grogu.
Aw, so cute. And he's got
They
the nice
are
big ears.
they are cute.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I said, Heidi and I have done a couple of collaborations with Prop Store. Screenshot of a shot of yourself enjoying one of those Prop Store videos with me and Heidi, and then make sure to subscribe to Heidi's channel and give her a follow
Thanks, guys.
on the Twitter. Here is her information. Make sure you follow her. And Heidi will be back. We're gonna do some more collaborations. I really love hanging
By
out
the
with you,
way, if you're
Heidi.
wondering why I have this weird name on Twitter, I used I had this stupid idea when I first started my YouTube channel to call myself Costume Cinematografico, which is like cinematic costume in Italian. Ro, you know that, right?
Right, right, right.
So, and it was so terrible because first of all, I couldn't say it and like, "Hi everyone, welcome back." I couldn't say it. And then finally people were like, "That is way too long of a name and you're not Italian. Why are you doing that? It's stupid." So I just said, "Okay, fine." So I just changed it to Costume Co. So
Too
that's the
funny.
reason. That's the long and the short of it.
That's too
And I've
funny.
got my cockles here under my arm,
They're
keeping
so
them
warm.
toasty.
Keeping them toasty warm. Heidi, it's been fantastic hanging out with
Aw,
you. I
you
love
as
when
well.
you stop by the Citadel here at the Scariff Scuttlebutt
I
Podcast.
love it. And can I add that I just like, first of all, your graphics are just top drawer. Like everything looks amazing. And I was just
Thank
like,
you so
I
much.
just sort of showed up and you've got all this put together and, packaged beautifully and got that
Well,
cool opening. And it's like, woo. So I just want to appreciate you.
thank you so much.
And your fans should appreciate you. They should, give
Nothing
you a
but the
like.
best. Nothing but the best for my audience and my guests. So thank you so much. But if you do want to appreciate me a little more, there's a pinned comment up top in the chat. Head on over to, what is it?
Are you Patreon? Yep.
buymeacoffee.com/Scariff.
Buy me a cup of coffee.
Yeah, give me a cup of coffee there. But absolutely, I love hanging out with you, Heidi. Thank you so much for stopping by, talking 70s sci-fi costumes. We did some good stuff, man. Loved it.
I think we did. And I'm gonna probably rewatch this because I'm sort of like enjoyed just, revisiting these
Right.
amazing shows from our childhood.
And I think
And
we definitely should
I
do an
haven't
80s.
asked Ro his age, but I suspect that we probably
My
based on
wife
our
would
kids'
my
age.
wife would say I'm 12.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of like I'm immature.
Excellent. There's nothing wrong
Thanks
with
so
that.
much. Comics and cosmetics. That's lovely.
Heidi is pretty dope. So love having her.
I'm a big nerd. By the way, and if you guys go on Twitter, you have to check out like Rose Adorbs, going
My
to see the Phantom Menace.
1999 Phantom Menace picture.
Oh my gosh, so cute. How cute were you? Yeah.
Were?
No, you are still cute. You're handsome now. You were adorable then. You're handsome now.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. You've grown into your look.
Yes, absolutely. So why don't you tell folks where people can find you, Heidi, and make sure to
I'm usually down the street corner selling crack. No, I'm not.
Wow, Canadian crack dealer. I didn't.
Yeah, no, it would be pot because it's legal
right,
here.
yeah.
I can grow 3 plants. It's totally legal. No, sorry, I'm just totally joking. I am on Twitter. That's usually, you can hit me up there. I'm on Instagram now too. And I have my channel, Costumeco, and I'm working on a video. This is really weird, but I'm working on a video about the jewelry in the Gilded Age, like the TV show, The
Nice.
Gilded Age. So there's a lot of like sort of royal influences, from the royal family. So it's been really, really fun. I'm working on that. Yes, I'm in Toronto. So I'm in a corner in Toronto selling crack.
And
thanks, Charles.
I'm trying to get Heidi to come down to Chicago for Scariff Con. So
they're in Toronto. We can go to the Island Airport and it will fly directly to Chicago. So we have to work that out. I really want to come.
That would be awesome. We'll have a lot of fun.
Bro, you're 77.
Excellent.
Wow, you look amazing.
I know. Oil of Olay.
I don't even think they make that anymore.
They don't?
I don't know.
Interesting. I'm that old that they don't make it anymore. No, that's too funny. Oh, too funny. I just want to thank everybody in the chat. If you came early, if you came late, thank you so much. And if you are just joining us, we T-voted for you. So hit the rewind and watch it. I'm also going to put the audio in our audio feed for folks that are not into the YouTubes, but if you want to listen to it while you're running errands to and fro, cutting the grass, doing some grocery shopping, and we'll put this episode in the chat, in the podcast feed. But guys, thank you so much, everybody in the chat. You guys have been wonderful, and the support on weekends here is great. Heidi, you are welcome anytime. But yeah, we definitely have to watch. I'll change that 70s to an 80s, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm gonna start thinking about it.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Until next time. This is Ro from the Scariff Scuttlebutt podcast, part of the Red 5 Network. If you want to check out the rest of the Red 5 Network, there are a couple of us in the chat. Head on over to bio.link/Red5. We've got a plethora of other content creators as part of the Red 5 Network. Talk to you guys later. Heidi, thank you so much.
My pleasure.